All of the action from the Ice Block 2015 is proudly brought to you by Emerald Resort and Casino, RLX Logistics, Clement Gold and Delta Marine Yamaha. We welcome you to the banks of the Vaal River. We are just outside Vanderbijl Park in Gauteng for the running of the 2015 Emerald Ice Block. It is the biggest water sport event in South Africa, producing the biggest amount of craft on the water at one time. There are multiple classes that compete on the day, from inflatables to the very powerful hard bottoms. We spoke to Mark Nell about his job as a co-pilot on one of the hard bottom boats.
Well, the job is actually just to be aware of what's happening around you, make sure that Nico doesn't see any blind spots, and hold on. Yeah, we came through early yesterday morning, done a bit of setups, boat's running okay, hoping that the water will be okay and everyone rides safely. It's a lot of setup. Fortunately we got the hydraulic jack, so we don't have to take off the motor and reposition the motor, so it's all done electronically, and it helps you a lot in time, yeah.
Just on 7 different hard bottom classes competing on the day, and with all of these boats on the water, there must be a lot of things to take care of.
A lot of boats, a lot of choppiness, the water's very rough. You've got to keep your eyes on the water because there's a lot of boats going different directions the whole time. People overtaking you. Yeah, you got to keep your eyes on the water and around you.
It's not just the hard bottoms and inflatables that compete. The jet skis are out here to take part in the action as well.
Joined up with the Ice Block about, I would say, 8 years back, and we've been riding since then, trying to beat our class or win our class as such. We're running the modified class, and we hope for the best today, for the second win. All racers will tell you lies about their own personal craft. This should be a standard ski. But no, it's fully modified. I run different supercharger, but it should be at least 350 horsepower. On the skis, it's your legs and arms, because you're basically on a wild horse the whole time. You're basically using your legs as shock absorbers, and if you get some footage from the helicopter today, you'll see it looks smooth, but if you see the splashes, the white water, you know we're working, our legs are working.
For the inflatables, the Ice Block forms part of the final round of the national circuit. Peter Groenstein won the event last year, but he's under a lot of pressure to defend the title.
Yes, I grew up here, and we spent a lot of time on the flat water before we moved down to Cape Town. We're back here again. It's Ice Block. It's very technical water, this flat water, and yeah, we're very excited and see what's gonna happen. The guy closest to me is Tyler Webber. He's 1 point behind me. So we have to give our utmost best and be very consistent today.
In the modified class, Wade Ball is at the front of the pack, but a charging Johan Loerewijks could upset his plans.
Sure, a lot of pressure. The guys are fast up here. I don't think we have the best of setup, but we're going to try our best to push through and try to take the win, but it's going to be tough. We came up Wednesday, so yeah, we've been here Thursday, Friday, setting up for 2 days solid. And yeah, we came pretty prepared. We made some new props and got our stuff sorted, but still, it's still tough for us up here. We're not used to this altitude and water.
Barry Marks is one of the stalwarts in the modified class, but technical problems could keep him out of the running.
If you blow 2 motors the day before and you don't know why, then you get a bit agitated, and that's where I am at the moment, so the guys must excuse me. But yeah, 99 repairs looks like it's my forte. I don't know how you put it.
We asked Rocker Erasmus what makes this event so special.
Well, the Ice Block is always a nice event. Actually in the winters, that's why I call it the Ice Block. I'm here, I think it's for my 13th one. And last year I had a bit of bad luck. I seized the gearbox, so hopefully this year it will be better.
Clement Gold's Des Porgita, one of the big contenders in the blueprint class, ahead of the field, ahead of Hilton Otto at the moment. It's going to be a good run. Otto very fast on the flat circuits. I think Potgieter is going to have his work cut out for him. While the girlfriends and wives are taking some time out, we caught up with race Odie Herman van Gims just after the race briefing and asked him what it was like controlling a race of this nature with so many craft on the water at one time.
Yeah, it actually becomes quite difficult if you have various classes throughout the PSA organization. You have the hard bottoms, you have the jet skis, you have the inflatables. And in the hard bottoms itself, there's about 5 or 6 different classes, which makes it quite difficult to organize, get it together, and then also to get the timing right, that you can at least have a good race.
In an event like this, safety is one aspect that cannot be overlooked. Quite a few divers out on the course today, as well as rescue boats, as the teams prepared to hit the water for the very first event. That's Jaylene Gillisas riding with Jaco Kloosterziel. He's going to be a contender as well in the standard class as far as the inflatables concerned. So it's very interesting days of racing that lies ahead here at the Vaal. Let's have a look at the course quickly. All craft will be covering 3 laps of just on 31.8 kilometers, except for the jet skis. They do 2 laps, 96 kilometers in total distance. Finishing time of just under 40 minutes. That's 149 kilometers per hour, taking just on 13 minutes per lap. So, 3 classes on the water today. The hard bottoms, the jet skis and the inflatables. The inflatables will be the ones that would depart first. 3 different classes in the inflatables, standard, modified and blueprint. This of course forms part of the last leg of their national circuit, which they've been racing around the country. Previous round was in Port Elizabeth. Now they're up here in Gauteng at the ice block. And with each national for the inflatables, they usually have a circuit race and a long haul. This is seen as the long haul. It's one long stretch that they run. It's all about endurance, testing the pilot, testing the kit. So the points they'll be scoring in the long haul event also count towards their national points. On board there with Des Potgieter and Ruan van Tonder, the Clement Gold boat, as the craft now make their way up the Vaal at the front of the pack. It's for Main and Beatrix de Kock Camping and Boating Centre. And number M12, they are one of the contenders in the modified class as far as the national circuit is concerned as well. However, he took the event last year, so he is defending his title as far as the ice block is concerned. Big fight going on for clean water as we ride on board here with Wade Ball and Bobby Shaw, the Land Rover team from Cape Town. Unlike in motorsport, where if you ride behind someone, you get the benefit of a slipstream. If you ride behind someone in an inflatable boat or any power boat, for example, there's not a lot of bite on the prop. So you want to try and get clear water that's unaerated, as the boat just gives a lot better performance and your motor really gets up to speed. Des Potgieter and Ruan van Tonder, the Clement Gold boat, as they make their way under the freeway. Up the Vaal River we go. These are the standard class boats, just a little bit behind the blueprints. Of course, in the different classes, modifieds on the flat water will be the fastest. Top speeds of around 110 kilometers per hour. The blueprints get around between 80 and 90 kilometers per hour, while the standard class boats can push on just on 65 to 70 kilometers per hour. As we catch Albertina Meubelvervoer, they're all the way down from Albertina. They had a pretty good showing in the Transagullas last year, had 3 boats competing in that event. This year they've come up for the ice block. I think it's their first time up here. This is the turning point at the top of the river where the inflatables do the first turn, as these boats now make their way back down. It's just on 15.3 kilometers, a one-way trip. Then they make their way back down. On board here with Chad Romans and Candice Pretorius, the Powerade boat. They're all the way from East London. Romans, of course, the current standard class world champion, hoping to defend that title later on this year. As we head now back to the start-finish line, where the hard bottoms were about to get going. Look at Ati Tromp on that green boat. The boat just lifts up as he powers that boat. It's got a huge 6-cylinder motor on the rear end. This man should finish this event in just under 40 minutes. Comes to the ice block every year in top form as we get the helicopter view on the field. Look at that green boat of his just powering along. He gets to a top speed of just on 180 kilometers per hour in that boat. And you can see the helicopter really having to push to stay with them on the flat water. Look at this Trump going by on the outside, and you will not see him till the finish line. He's won this event for the last few years, rides in the L1 hard bottom class. This year, going to have a bit of competition from Anton Brits and Mornay Volschink as well. John Mitchell and Roy Mitchell, they compete in that class, as does John Russ Duncan. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out in the L1 hard bottom class. There are, of course, 7 different classes in the hard bottoms that compete. As we flash back to the start finish line, the jet skis getting going, and fair field of jet skis this year, just on 10 jet skis on the water. The modified class sees Herman van der Merwe, Henry White and Don McIntosh competing for honours. That's the man to watch out for, the 777 boat of Herman van der Merwe. So look at the shot here of the guys moving along. The water still fairly flat here. It does get a little bit choppier as the boats move along. Look at the arms and legs working. We asked him earlier before the start exactly what is it that you feel in the next day. Where do you feel the pain the most? He says the arms and the legs. It's like riding a wild horse all the time. You can see that slow-mo shot there of Werner Ackermann. You see Sea-Doo just working underneath him, having to keep it in line as he powers his way along the Vaal. This is Atti Tromp coming around for his first lap. The only way you can see or experience the speed is to be on the side of the river. This is boat number 444. It's Henry White Sr. in that beautiful auto select boat going by. He's competing in the runabout class this year. The crowds on the side of the Vaal already getting behind the competitors. Ernest Open, Jolene Prinsloo, boat number 9, Mercury Outboards at full speed as they go by, looking to take first place in the L4 class. As the inflatables now come by to do another lap. They'll be doing 3 laps of the course. On board here with Wade Ball and Bobby Shaw. His father, Roy Ball, multiple modified champion in South Africa. PH Plant Hires, Hilton Otto, he's leading in the long haul at the moment, just ahead of Des Potgieter. Now, Otto hoping that something's going to go wrong with Potgieter in this event, because Potgieter ahead of him in the national log as far as the inflatable national championship is concerned for the blueprint class. Refueling, an important part of the strategy. The inflatables will come through and refuel, as will some of the jet skis. It all depends on the size of the fuel tank that you have on board. Some of the inflatables don't refuel until the last lap. Some don't refuel at all, but in most cases, the inflatables will come through for a refuel. Catching a glimpse here of the jet skis at full speed as they make their way around the course. You can see how nice and flat the water is. If you get a clear run in the flat water, makes all the difference. The body not having to work as hard on that ski. This is the L4 class, boat number 46. It's the duo of Nico Wessels and Mark Nell. As we go on board with Wessels and Nell as one of the L1 boats come by them. That's Anton Blitz and Morne Volschenk now moving up into second place in the L1 class. You can see the speeds the different boats move at. It's all about the horsepower on the back that puts them in the different classes. As these guys are competing in the runabout class. This event normally sees temperatures dropping way below 0 degrees on the water, and it's called the ice block. You're kind of frozen like an ice block when you get off the boat at the end of the day. But a lot of motorsport and water sport enthusiasts coming out to support this event. This is the 24th year this event has been run. It is, of course, the second oldest water sport event in the country to the Trans-Agulhas boat adventure. Mechanical issues forcing one of the L2 class boats out of the event. That's Rowan Brits and Cyril Nordeer having to call it a day. There's quite a strong headwind blowing on the day as we go on board with Jan van Tonder and Kobus Wagenaar. Look at this, the nose of the boat just lifts up. All of a sudden he's got to back off. And of course the helicopter causing a bit of chaos as well. If you can't go in front of the inflatable boats too low on the ground, because the downdraft just lifts the boat right out of the water. This is the man that won standard class last year, the Value Max boat, Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr, all the way down from Cape Town. He's of course, champion in the Trans-Agulhas as well in the standard class. Thumbs up we get from him. And I think this year he's going to be a little bit under pressure. Jaco Kloosterziel is so fast on the flat water. I don't think anybody is going to be able to touch him. Of course, Groenstein grew up at the banks of the Vaal. His dad, an old hard bottom racer as well. We go on board here with Jan van Tonder and Kobus Wagenaar, the Wood Pro boat. They compete in the blueprint class. Currently lying 4th overall as far as the ice block is concerned. Catching a glimpse of one of the L5 boats here. This is Luan Kutsia and Tinus Botha as they move along the Boating International boat. They've well prepared, but they didn't finish on the day. Technical issue causing them to retire. This duo has spent so much time preparing their boat. Nico Wessels and Mark Nell, number 46, they were DNF as well. The boaters will both competing in the L4 class. And they were running in the top 3 position overall. I don't think they'll be too happy with that DNF. A quick look back here at Mark Nell, the co-pilot on that boat. You can see how bumpy it is as they move along at high speed. This is the Big Daddy boat of Sean Mitchell and Roy Mitchell, competing in the L1 class with Ati Tromp. Third place for them on the day. Strong finish just behind Anton Brits and Morne Volschenk. Desport Gieter trying to pull out all the stops with Juan van Tonde, his co-pilot, leaning low over the front of the boat, trying to keep the nose down. Then he moves back, tries to distribute the weight to the back of the boat. That's how you get the most speed out of the boat. Of course, Otto ahead of him at the moment. Otto will claim the long haul event as far as the blueprints are concerned. This man is a close second place behind Wade Ball in the national champs in the modified class. Johan Ludovics and Flippy Skuman running for the Gemini team. Oh, bit of a wobbly there as they go through. As we go low level behind Chad Romans and Candice Pretorius, the Powerade boat now on its last lap. He'll finish in third place behind Richard Horwell and Keith Holland. Romans all the way from East London. He spends a lot of time on the water practicing out there. Another duo from East London here. It's S62, Tyler Webber and Ross Murray. They're just a few points behind Groenstein in the Standard Class National Championships at the moment. This is FJ Buter, the wet core boat, getting cold hands on the day, warming it up at the back of the exhaust port. That's one way to get the heat back into the hands. While the inflatables are finishing off the last lap on the course, the hard bottoms are coming through to the finish. Ati Tromp coming through an amazing time by him, 39 minutes, 18 seconds to complete the course. Anton Brits and Morne Volschenk will claim second place, while John Ross Duncan will grab third in the L1 class. Wade Ball pushing as hard as he can in that Land Rover PH plant hire boat, but the wind wouldn't go to him. The wind would be going to Formain de Kock and Beatrix de Kock, taking the overall win in the modifieds.
No, it went well. It was stiff competition from Wade, and luckily we were in front and we kept it that way and full throttle all the time.
In the standard class, Jaco Kloosterziel and Jaylene Gillisas taking the honours in the Aquarius inflatable boat. This man is a master of the flat water, doing so well. It was a battle, but in the end, Desport Gieter managed to pass Hilton Otto to claim the victory in the blueprint class.
Yes, we've been setting up a week or two prior to the event. Water conditions changed a bit. We got on the water, so we didn't get the speed we wanted to, but it all panned out quite well, and we caught Hilton, which was quite a mission, but it worked out.
Let's recap the overall results then for the Ice Block Long Haul event. Ati Tromp claiming the victory in the L1 boat overall in the hard bottom class. In the jet skis, modifieds would go to Herman van der Merwe. The finish he wanted, he took the victory, while in the inflatables, Formain de Kock in the modified class claiming victory. Although the Ice Block Long Haul event is a thing of the past, the Sunday would see the running of the inflatable circuit. This would be the final round of the national series for the inflatables. The modifieds, blueprints and standard classes all taking part in this event. Some tough competition in all of the classes. I think only Desport Gieter in the blueprint class had a secure victory. All he had to do was finish. In the modified class, it wasn't going to be that easy though. Current champion Wade Ball was fending off a huge charge from Johan Ludovics and Flippy Skuman, who were just a few points behind on the national log.
We're hoping for better than yesterday. We had a bit of a struggle. We changed boats, which might cause some controversy later on, but we'll get to that. So yeah, we're still in the fight for number 1 place. I think we're a point behind now, so we'll have to see what happens.
In the standard class, Tyler Webber being involved in a huge fight for first place. He was trying to adjust to the conditions.
The water's a lot dead. It's a lot more dead up here. We've lost about 6 k's an hour up here. So a lot of preparation going into it, just to make the big difference on the log.
And of course, getting off the line first is what it's all about in inflatable powerboat racing, especially as far as the flat circuit is concerned. Pilots briefing underway. A lot of competition out on the course today, especially in the standard and modified classes. This, of course, being the final round of the National Series. 3 rounds being held before Mossel Bay, Port Elizabeth, and then right here up in the Vaal at the Vaal River. The top 3 teams being separated by less than 15 points. Each of the national events consists of 2 days of racing, circuit and a long haul. Circuit racing has 3 heats each. In Mossel Bay, Chad Romans and Carl Kuhn, the Powerade World Championship duo, managed to grab a second place in the surf racing. But in Port Elizabeth, technical problems kept the duo out of the top 3. We found that most of the coastal pilots coming from Cape Town and East London as well as Port Elizabeth prefer the surf racing. The choppy water is what makes them perform well. They like to take risks. Whereas the flat water, a lot more of a technical setup. And that's exactly what Jaco Kloosterziel is so good at. Although Kloosterziel missed the first round in Mossel Bay, he did put out a good performance in Port Elizabeth. And of course, here at the Vaal, he's right on his doorstep. It's his home turf. And these are the waters he performs so well in. Tyler and Dusty Day are best known for their performances on bicycles. They are professional cyclists by trade. They completed their very first Transagalas last year. They said they'll be back this year, and this was the very first circuit event they did at the Vaal as well. Throughout the entire season, it was clear that Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr, the Value Max duo from Cape Town, were going to be the men to beat. They are very, very strong in all conditions. Groenstein knows how to ride the flat water. However, it was Tyler Webber and Ross Murray from East London that stepped up to the plate in the Aquarius and managed to give them a big challenge in Mossel Bay. Webber grabbing first place in Mossel Bay. By the time the racing moved to Port Elizabeth, it was once again Webber that stepped up to the plate, grabbing second place, while Groenstein could only manage fourth place in the surf. However, the next day, Groenstein turned the tables on him by taking first place in the long haul. That, of course, meant that before coming to the Vaal and the ice block, there were only about 10 points separating Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr from Tyler Webber and Ross Murray. It was going to be a fight all the way to the finish line. If Groenstein got a DNF or maybe a 6th place in one of the heats, he would be out of the competition and Tyler Webber would basically take the win, but it wasn't going to be. Although Webber and Murray put in a great performance in the Aquarius, it would in the end, the win would go to Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr, the Value Max duo, grabbing the national championships in the standard class.
Yes, we put a lot of effort into it, and it was a really tough season behind us. Tyler was really close to me, and I really had to work hard to beat him. He's a tough guy to beat, and it came to us, and we're very, very, very excited about it.
In the blueprint class, it was very much a foregone conclusion that Des Potgieter and Ruan van Tonde, the Clement Goldboat, would take the overall victory. All they had to do was finish the circuit and the weekend's racing at the Vaal, and they would take the national championships as far as the blueprint class was concerned. In the first race of the season in Mossel Bay, Stefan Lindeke and Tony Ingram grabbed a double victory, claiming both the surf and long haul racing, while Potgieter managed to take second place. Although Hilton Otto had a DNF in the surf race in Mossel Bay, he did compete and got a 3rd place in the long haul overall. By the time the racing moved to Port Elizabeth, it was local boy Carl Colby and Christopher Saddle that grabbed the 1st place overall. While Des Potgieter held on to a 3rd place, Hilton Otto could only manage a 5th. He did claim 3rd in the circuit though. The East London duo of Michiel Marx and Simon Voort were consistent finishers, always coming through with a 4th and 5th place in both of the coastal events. Finishes wasn't enough to keep them in contention for a top 3 finish in the national season. When it comes to racing on the flat water at the Vaal, Hilton Otto is always on pace, but it was a very young Jean Lowe and Big Boy van Wyk that surprised with a victory on the day in the opening heat. Overall victory in the blueprint class though went to Des Potgieter and Ruan van Tonde, claiming the season.
Yes, John is surprisingly fast. He's just started and they weigh almost nothing, so that it's in their favour. Hilton's very fast and I really had to fight to keep him behind me. So we've been working hard for this and almost got it last year, and this year eventually it came to us.
In the modified class though, things couldn't get any tighter. Johan Loerewijks and Wade Ball were at each other throughout the entire season, and the opening rider was Loerewijks that grabbed a 1st place in the surf. Ball managed 2nd, while in the long haul Loerewijks grabbed 3rd, while Ball maintained that consistent 2nd place. By the time the racing moved down to Port Elizabeth, it was Loerewijks and Ball that grabbed a 1st place in the surf and circuit races respectively. So by the time they got to the Vaal, there were only about 6 points separating the teams. With the Century Electrical duo of Barry Marks and Dion Bayers breathing down their necks with a consistent second and third place in both the Mossel Bay and Port Elizabeth Surf, things were going to get tough. Things didn't work out for Marks though. A series of engine trouble on the weekend cost him the long haul, but it looks like the troubles would return in the circuit as well, and that would cost him the weekend circuit racing. Wade Ball fought really hard to defend that lead he had in the national circuit as far as the modified class was concerned, but at the end, Ludovics applying the pressure and managing to take the victory over Ball. 1 point in the end is all that separated them. So Ludovics, the new modified champion as far as the inflatables are concerned, he was absent for 5 years and now he's back on top. Blueprint class, the victory going to Des Polkita and Ruan van Tonder in the Clement Gold boat, while the standard class went to Peter Kroenstein and Nicole Parr, their second year that they'll be taking the national championship win back to Cape Town. That concludes all of the action from the VAL and the Ice Block. We hope you enjoyed the coverage. All of the action from the 2015 Ice Block is proudly brought to you by the Emerald Resort and Casino, RLX Logistics, Clement Gold, and Delta Marine Yamaha.